Yeah, hello everybody. I did my first book report. This is a book review, okay? And it was the first one, and I did it a while back. And I'm going to continue it because I really like the section. And the first one, I didn't know exactly if I was going to continue to do the book reviews, but now I know that I'm going to continue to do the book reviews. So the book that I was doing is this one. I think it pushes it back. I mean, like when I put it up on YouTube, I think it's going to flip it so that you can read it. But anyway, it's Stephen King, I always say Stephen, and it's Fairy Tale. Now, as far as my book reports, because this is the first one I did, I think it's the first one I did in my channel. Maybe I've talked about books, but this is the first one as far as I'm going to finish it. Now, how do I find books? It's very hard for me. Not very hard, but it doesn't happen all the time. It's like a hit song that you really, really like, and you buy it. But nowadays it's totally different. But back in the day, when we heard a song on the radio, we couldn't wait to hear it again on the radio, and then we could buy it. We'd go to the store and buy it. Well, that's how I look at books when I like a book. There's probably around 3 ways that I come across a book that I really want to read. I guess you can say I'm kind of picky. Well, first of all, it has most likely, I'm not saying for sure, but most of the books I read are fiction, okay? I mean, as far as enjoying a book, I read different kinds of books, but it's fiction. I usually really like fiction, okay? I learn a lot about fiction, and I think I said this in my first one, is because the writer, in order to do a very good fiction book, they have to know about reality, and they have to know, and a lot of times they have to study certain things, okay? But if their studying gets too much into fiction, comes in, collides with the fiction, it kind of messes it up. But Stephen King is a very good writer, a very good writer. However, I've only read a few of his books. I think the main reason is because he does movies also, and a lot of times I would probably, as far as he is concerned as an author, I've seen a lot of his movies, okay? So it kind of like, because I know exactly how his mind works as far as putting together a story, it's kind of hard for me to read a book because I pretty much know how he's going to do things, okay? However, I do like his writing, and I mentioned this before, so I don't want to get into a lot of things about Stephen King. But anyway, I came across Fairy Tale, and I found this one because the last book I read, I can't really come up with the title right now. It'll take me a while, but I still have it. I'll talk about it. But it wasn't a big book. I've read, I guess in the last year or two, I read a lot of books that I didn't finish. Usually I don't finish a book because the story's not going along very well. It's not enjoyable. I've read 2 books recently to where I got to the end and it was just chaos. But I enjoyed the book, but I couldn't finish it. I didn't finish it. I didn't say I couldn't finish it, but I didn't finish it because it became chaotic. Like a lot of times, just like in movies, it's hard to do a conclusion of a book, seems like I got something in my eye. But anyway, I'm gonna keep going. So anyway, I'm gonna talk about this Stephen King Fairy Tale. And for now, the reason why I like it is because there's 2 worlds, okay? So now, I don't know exactly. I know this video is going to be kind of long, but I'm going to make some shorts out of it, so I have to redo this. I mean, say the title, because I don't know how I'm going to do the short on it. So it's fairy tale, Stephen King. The reason why I like the book, and I'm only on page, I don't have my glasses with me, okay? But I can't read the page that I'm on. But I'm close to, I can't even read it. Maybe around, let me see if I can read this number. Okay, I can't read the number. But anyway, maybe it's around 400 or 500. But the reason why I like it is because there's two worlds. And I like the way he handles the worlds. When I read a book, I just don't read it for the story. I read how the writer handles certain situations. Now, this situation is to where there's two worlds, and they have somewhat of a kid. But usually when Stephen King does a book on a kid, usually a male, M-A-L-E, a male, not a female, he makes them like these genius kids or whatever, which a lot of things that this character does, he's very, very, very not experienced, but he's very knowledgeable about things. One thing about reading the book, if you know all your fairy tales, I'm not saying this book is called fairy tale, but the main character is very familiar with all the fairy tales that we're told when we're young, as far as as far as growing up in America, all the fairy tales that we tell, I can't say if it's the same ones as far as Europe is told, or as far as England or other English-speaking countries, but I know in America, he pretty much uses those fairy tales with this other world that happens in the book. Now, I like what I'm saying when I say that he knows how to handle this other world. And like I said, I just don't read it for the story. But what happens in the book is that there's another world. There's another, I can't say world, but I can say another dimension, okay? I like the way he goes from, we have a reality in the book, and then there's a fantasy, which is another dimension. And I like the way he levels out this other dimension and this reality that we all live in. Now, if I just were reading the story, I wouldn't think that this book would be as much interesting. But because of the way I read it and enjoy it, I really will most likely finish the book. There was one situation in the book, another thing I like is that he kind of like lets you find out about what's in your own head. Because in this book, he almost puts you in a situation to where you want to make the decision. And there was one part of the book, and I actually made it. I kind of like almost made a decision that I would never make, that I didn't think I was going to make. And the character, and the main character actually did a very good job at handling this situation. But what I'm saying is like, and I'll tell you part of it so you find out how you are as a person or how you would handle the situation. Well, he has this thing where this person comes, the character, the main character, actually, even though he's a young kid, he becomes owner of a house, and somebody breaks in his house, and the things that happen, and the way that he gets rid of this intruder in his house. That's the section I'm talking about, because he gets in a position to where, I mean, the person was going to kill him, and he gets in a position to where he switches the position. And the way he handles that part of the story is like he makes you find out or try and figure out what you would do. Okay, because he like delays it. It's very interesting. Anyway, I'm glad for the way the character handled the whole situation. So I'm not going to tell you exactly about the situation. Another thing I like I told you, there's a dimension, another dimension, like another world. Okay, there's a reality that we all live in, and then there's this other dimension. The most important part of putting the story together is what I would call, I know there's words for all these things, but I'm not familiar with them. There's a, how can I say, a medium, or there's like a door, okay? And when I say door, I mean a door or a passage which leads you from reality to this other dimension. He handles it perfectly. And because you can't just go from reality to this other dimension. So if I were just reading it for the story, I don't think I wouldn't be as interested. But for the mere fact is the way he handles it, I enjoy myself reading, and that's exactly what I mean. I enjoy myself reading this passage through that goes from reality to this other dimension. And mind you, because I'm very busy, and I know everybody else is very busy, but what I'm saying, I didn't know if I was going to finish the book because I had so many things to do, and then I continually had so many things to do. And then I decided if I make it into one of my videos, it would give me more time to do it, because then I would make the time. So I went back to the book and I started reading it again. Okay, which made me kind of like not forget what happened in the beginning, but it made it a little bit, like I had to remember that's because of this, or that's because of this, okay? And I kind of remembered what had happened. Usually I don't do that. I just finish a book, keep reading it until I finish it. However, I don't like reading a book straight all the way through because I don't enjoy it as much. Because I like to think about it, what's going on. Because it has something to deal with the way the mind works. So, anyway, like I said, there's a door. When I say door, it doesn't mean an actual door, but this opening into the tunnel or into this passage that leads you to the other world, to this other dimension. And that passage doesn't have to do anything with the dimension and the real world, but it's just, like I said, a passage through. Or I can say a transition. I don't like bad transitions, but usually a transition is kind of bad. So it's a transition from reality to this other dimension. Now, I'm at the point to where he's actually in this dimension. Why do I like the dimension? At first, the reason why I wasn't going to continue reading it is because I really didn't like the dimension. It didn't seem interesting enough. But then, when I went back to the book, I find that it's because I had to figure out more things that, not that about the dimension, but like I said, you're doing this in your mind. So this dimension that he goes to, you pretty much have to not fill in, but a lot of things in reality is not in this dimension. So I had to, and this is why I like the book now, continually reading the book. It's because in this dimension, everything is not given to you. Everything is not readily at hand, like, in the reality that he has, you go to the store, you have a mother, you have a father, you go to school, all those things in this reality that's pretty much like our reality. But in this dimension, I had to realize that I'm like him in the dimension. I don't know what is what, although he seems like he knows the reason why he knows more about the dimension is because someone else told him about the dimension. And actually, he inherited something that he inherited from someone. So I could just say he inherited the property in which the dimension exists. So, okay. And the person who handed it over to him explained to him a lot of things before he explored it himself. So, in actuality, the main character understands the dimension more so than the reader. And that's what I had to come to grips with, okay? That I am not as knowledgeable as the main character who knows more about the dimension than I do. So, I figured that I had to do things when I got into this dimension, which I'm in the dimension right now. And the weird part about it is like, for instance, faces that we take for granted, okay? But in this dimension, you can't see a lot of things, or you can't figure out faces as well as you do in the reality. And I realized, and this is the part I like about it, I realize is that we, in our society or in life now, in our reality that we have, we depend a lot on faces, and we take them for granted. And it's funny because I also remember that in a lot of there's people who can't. I even heard something about Brad Pitt. He's not able to distinguish faces. He can't remember faces. So he can't take that for granted. And there are people who can't take faces for granted. They don't have that knack that we take for granted. So I had to, that was one of my, how can I say, that was one of my, not deformities, what do you call it when someone can't do something? Not deformities, it's something mental. Anyway, I'm describing it to you, so you got to understand you have to understand my definition. What I'm trying to say is, I'm in a position to where when I'm in this dimension, I have to build up, or I have to strengthen my ability for these faces that are that I'm reading about. Okay, like in one face, and like I said, if I didn't do all these things or I didn't understand all these things, I would not enjoy the book. Like for one person that he talks to, he can't really figure out her face. He says she's very beautiful, but then she doesn't have like a mouth, okay? and she had something like a scar or something in her mouth. So it wasn't clear, okay? But then again, the reason probably why he can't understand, because he doesn't live there, he didn't grow up there. So he has to develop this this ability, or strengthen his ability to understand or to see what these faces signifies. And there was one place to where one lady that he was speaking to, I mean, she didn't have like a mouth or whatever, but she had like the scar or something, and she, like, in order for her to eat, she had to cut herself with this straw type thing, and then she had to suck on the straw this concoction, which is her nutrition. And it was so unenjoyable that she didn't even finish her nutrition, but she has to do it. And I guess it kind of like heals all the time, okay? And there's also another point to where there's this horse. She can't speak, but she's talking to him, having a conversation, and there's other people that she can speak through. She speaks through a horse at one point, and she speaks through an assistant at another point, okay? So those things I had to come to grips with in my reading about this world, this dimension that he's in. And like I said, now I'm at this point, I can't tell you maybe it's like 500 or whatever. I'm not sure exactly where it's at because I don't have my glasses. But I'm going to continue to read it, and I'm going to give another report on this book, and this is my first one, Fairy Tale. Thank you very much. Bye.